Happy holidays, everybody. It's time for TWiT and our annual Best Of episode. Coming up, the best moments from 2024.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This is TWiT, This Week in Tech, episode 1012 for 12/29/2024. Our best of 2024. It's time for TWiT, everybody. And of course, as we do every year, it's the end of the year. We sent everybody home. Actually, we made them work harder earlier in December to put together a best of. Benito's put together some of the best clips from 2024. And of course, we always begin the year, as we will in 2025, with CES. Father Robert joined us with his CES haul. Watch.
Well, okay, let's start super geeky. This is super niche. That one right there. That's that dock. No, that actually, okay.
I have one that looks just like this for my Omega.
Absolutely. That's a Targus. It's a dual dock. So the idea is a dual 100-watt output, USB-C and Thunderbolt.
So you put your laptop on there, you plug it into the wall, and it's powering your laptop.
Maybe two different laptops or a laptop and a desktop. Yeah. It gives you triple display output. So you can have up to 3 monitors connected externally, but the
3 display ports,
right.
2 display ports and an HDMI,
right,
as well as
and
Thunderbolt,
of course Ethernet and Thunderbolt, right?
Thunderbolt,
but that's actually a KVM. So and the nice thing about it is it's not a traditional KVM where you flip the button and it flips all the monitors from one to the other. That actually knows the boundaries of the resolution of each computer. So you use the same mouse and keyboard to move the mouse over, and you enter into the desktop space of the other computer. You go back and forth. Now, the cool thing about this is that means that it is operating system independent. It's something like, you remember Mouse Without Borders from Microsoft?
Yeah.
This does that, but I can use a Mac, I can use Windows, I can use Linux. It doesn't matter. It's OS agnostic. Again, I know that this is super niche, but if you're like a system administrator or just a guy who needs multiple machines on his desk, that thing is incredible. It's so much nicer than having 2 sets of keyboards and mice.
I might get this because I have that big 55-inch OLED with multiple computers, and if I just hook this up, I have my nice, keyboard, my Keychron keyboard. I have my classic Microsoft IntelliMouse, and I just plug those into this, and then that's all I need. I have the monitor, keyboard, and mouse, and I have multiple systems.
When that was first pitched to me, I didn't get it. I'm like, what? KVMs are 20 years ago.
Nobody even makes them anymore.
No one makes them, but this actually, that absolutely made sense to me.
All right,
that's
how much?
It's again enterprise product, so you're looking at $455.
Yeah,
it's high. It's high up there.
What else we got?
Okay, so this is Runhood. So this is their 1200. This is sort of a home, away from home camping unit. So we've got the solar panels. We've got this 1200-watt power unit. Now, the cool thing about this...
So it's charging up from the solar panels.
It can charge up from the solar panels.
How much wattage, though, do these generate, these solar panels?
In partial sunlight, this will do 100 watts.
Oh, okay.
So it's not a great amount, but the nice thing about this is it's super durable, it's super flexible, and it will work in partial sunlight.
So, and I could probably fill up, there's a battery in that, I presume.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
well,
I could probably fill up the battery over 24 hours.
This is the cool thing. These use these battery packs, so you can hot swap these things. And they give you these little modules that you can clip on. So I can pull one of the battery packs out, and now I've got, what is this, like 400 watt hours of power for USB-C, USB, or I could actually just charge it from USB-C PD. Now, this is the kind of systems that I love because it means that once you've made the investment into the system, you can swap your modules in and out and grab what you need to power whatever you're doing. So you want a day at the beach, maybe you don't need the whole system, you just pull one of these out, and this is more than enough to run your laptop, your phones, your desktop.
It looks like it also could be an emergency
That's
unit, right?
actually what I'm going for. This is going to be part of my
power go out
system.
a lot at the Vatican
all the time.
So it's designed by Italians. It's not functional, but it looks good.
Actually, you know what?
It looks great.
You know what I found out? I actually finally put a signal analyzer on our power.
Oh, is it a little choppy?
They've lowered down the voltage to like the bare minimum before it starts destroying things.
Intentionally?
Intentionally, because we had a gas shortage. So,
all right.
Yeah. So
you're not getting municipal power, probably. You've got the Vatican.
No. The Vatican uses municipal power.
It's Rome's power. Yeah.
It's
I wouldn't be
Rome's
surprised if they turned it on.
This
is cool. How much, roughly?
Okay, so if you got the whole kit, which would include the 4 battery packs,
Let me guess.
this thing.
$2,800.
No, it's like $1,600.
You're kidding.
No. That's actually why I like them, because first, they're lower priced. I love the modular design, and they're standards based.
Yeah.
There's a lot of companies that make some really nice stuff, and I'm not going to call them out because their design is great, but it's all proprietary.
Could I get multiple panels like these?
Yep.
And so I could expand my capabilities?
This uses the standard solar connector. So the solar panels at your house, you could actually plug that into this.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Run Hood.
And they're a Bay Area located company.
I like them.
Yeah, brand new. How about this? This is something that you might like for your travels. This was the Poly Voyager 360 UC. Yeah.
What is a Poly Voyager 360 UC when it's
earbuds? They're earbuds, but they've really been designed. They're inside. Now, the cool thing about this is you see that little screen at the top?
Yeah, what is that all about?
That actually gives you a touch screen that can control like a Zoom call. So connecting and disconnecting calls.
Okay.
You can switch between modes. And actually, the reason why I like this set is it has a cable that lets you hook it up to a 3.5 millimeter audio jack. And
that's kind of nice.
Right?
So if you lose battery life, or no, you still need batteries.
You still need the batteries. But by the way, this thing runs forever, and the case is actually a battery for the earbuds as well.
I also like it. It's got a little USB adapter in the case, which is fantastic. No, that's the wireless adapter.
Correct. It's really been designed for UC people. So this, again, it's an enterprise product. I know it's niche. Here's something that you might like.
That's cool, though.
This is Anker's newest Qi charger.
You know, I've been looking at. There's a lot of companies make these after Apple decided not to make theirs. That will charge a Apple Watch, an Apple phone, and the earbuds all at once.
That's
but this one folds up, which is kind of cool.
Fold it back. There you
go.
Look
at that. It's very compact. This would be good for travel.
It would be good for travel, and they have another version of that they're going to be releasing that actually has a battery pack built into it, and it's Anker, and Anker has a great reputation.
So is this out?
This is out. This is out right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, do you like audio?
I love audio, baby.
Everyone was pitching me speakers. The one speaker I decided to take was this. This is from Rocksteady. It's called their Stadium. Now, they sell themselves as a Sonos killer. I don't know if
I think Sonos is the Sonos killer, to be honest. Let's be frank.
Let's be a little frank. Now, the nice thing about this, though, is it's Bluetooth 5.0. So it's super, super clear as long as you've got a Bluetooth 5.0 system. And it's infinitely expandable.
How many speakers are there? Just one?
There's one over there. There's that one right there. Go ahead and turn that on.
So you could make this a 5.0 system if you bought enough speakers,
You could make it. You can, as long as it's within the Bluetooth range, the power button is in the back.
Yes.
You can add as many speakers as you like. And once you start playing it actually...
We're going to rock out here. There's a subwoofer somewhere. Am I sitting on it?
No, see, I haven't even turned that on.
Oh.
But they all use...
it looks like a purse, a capacious, extraordinarily capacious purse. Hey, it sounds pretty good. Yeah, I'm getting some bass. That's nice.
Yeah, this one is actually a little heavy.
And so the idea of these is you can have multiple units. Can you do party mode, in other words?
Party mode.
Sonos-style party mode.
Precisely. And they don't interfere with one another as long as they're further than 1 foot away. So you could actually buy a set of these, put them
all over the
outside,
house. Yeah.
and you're good to go. They work, I think the longest time I got to play on this was about 20 hours. They rate it for 30, but if you play it loud, you're probably going to get about 60.
I love it. I look forward to it every year. I don't think, unfortunately, Padre is going to CES this year, but we will do our CES wrap-up show in, I guess, next week, right? In the new year. You're watching the best of 2024 for this week in tech. We're so glad you're here. Happy holidays, everybody. On we go on the best of with the word of the year. Cory Doctorow, the man who coined it, explains ensh.
So ensh, and this is how Cory begins that now I think classic blog post. Here is how platforms die. First, they're good to their users. Think Amazon and its customer-centric approach. Then they abuse their users to make things better for their business customers. Again, think about Amazon and the third-party sellers. Half of what you buy on Amazon now doesn't come from Amazon. It comes from third-party sellers. And then finally, and this is the stage Amazon's in, they abuse those business customers to claw back all the value for themselves, and then they die. It's kind of the new digital business cycle. And it happens, and you can see it over and over again. Cory's been very good about documenting it. Cory, your argument, which I completely agree with, is not that you're going to ever stop this, but this is the argument for interoperability. We should be able to hop from platform to platform, and as platforms start becoming user hostile, we just go to the next one. Right?
Yeah, I think about that as being sort of related to the problem of wildfire in California. We've always had fire in California. The indigenous people who lived here before the settlers came used to have controlled burns, and that would clear the dead stuff away from the bottom of the forest, and it would open up the canopy for new growth. And when the settlers came, they declared war on fire. And
by the way, isn't it amazing that these indigenous peoples knew to do that?
Well, they were here for like
a long time,
millennia, right?
Yeah.
And so maybe they didn't at first, right? They just figured it out.
They learned. Yeah, if we don't burn it, it will. God will.
So so ending good fire didn't end fire; it just ended controlled fire, and then now we have wildfire, right? So even if we resolve the climate emergency, California is still going to burn because we have all this fire debt.
In the same way, also the ecological cycle. It's part of how it works.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of plants that only reproduce by creating fire, and then their seed pods open in the fire and stuff. But the same thing used to be true of tech, right? It used to be prior to the Carter era, especially, but then slowly less and less in the years afterwards, that companies weren't really allowed to buy their competitors or merge with their competitors. They weren't allowed to sell goods below cost in order to prevent other firms from entering their markets. Those were all just generally prohibited. There were exceptions around the margins, but that was the way things worked. And so it meant that when no one at Cray could figure out how to make a good computer anymore, that was the end of Cray. And it meant that, when IBM monopolized its market, it was taken to court for 12 years and eventually had to do things like make PCs out of commodity components and unbundle the OS and get a third-party company called Microsoft to make its OS. And so we used to have companies that rose and fall, right? We used to have good fire. And it meant that users could be protected because it was very easy to escape a platform. If you had an IBM mainframe that IBM didn't want to support anymore, there were the so-called seven dwarves, the mostly Japanese electronics companies that would continue to make peripherals for them that were plug compatible. And if you used Mac OS and your CIO wanted to take your computer away and replace it with a Windows machine because Mac Office was so bad that you couldn't communicate with your colleagues, Steve Jobs could just have his technologist reverse engineer Office and make iWork with pages, numbers, and Keynote that could read and write Word, Excel, and PowerPoint files. And you could switch from one to the other. In fact, right after iWork, we got the switch campaign, right? It's very easy to switch. You should switch.
It's the plug compatible software. Yeah.
Right. But do that today, and they'll bomb you till the rubble bounces, right? Make a runtime for iOS that can, or runtime for another platform that can run iOS apps and play back media that Apple has sold you, or create a scraper that lets you leave Facebook but fetch the messages that are showing up in your inbox and put them in your Mastodon inbox, or your OG inbox, or create OG app. Google at one point sent software agents to every server on the internet to say, hi, I'm just a user. Have you got any pages? I'd like all of your pages, please. And if you were to try and scrape Google right now, they'd bomb you till you glowed, right? And so my argument is that we've allowed these firms to grow to an unsustainable size, right? That a firm that has $3 trillion in business and is taking 30% margins out of an entire industry and deciding unilaterally what apps can and can't exist, or effectively what businesses can and can't exist, or Amazon, which is taking 51% out of every dollar that its sellers make, and is the largest employer in the country, and whose employees are laboring under just the most incredibly awful conditions. They have double the accident rate in Amazon warehouses relative to other fulfillment centers. And we all know about peeing in bottles and so on. That remedy for that is not to try and make those companies behave themselves. I mean, we should do that too, but not to the extent that we create rules that make it hard for other companies to enter the market, and not to the extent that we have companies saying, well, if you force us to open our app store, interoperate our chat protocol, or allow third parties to fulfill orders that are placed through our e-commerce platform, or if you prohibit us from selling on the platform that we own, where we are competing with our own independent vendors, then we won't be able to keep our users safe. Right? That ultimately the way you keep users safe is by evacuating them from the fire zone, not by adding more fire suppression to the zone, which tempts more people to pile into this place that is going to burn. Right? That where they're in danger all the time.
There are a few people in our world today, Donald Trump's one of them, Elon Musk's another, who are masterful at grabbing the headline, right? At changing the conversation. Tesla stock starting to go down severely. So he announces, we're going to have a Tesla Robotaxi August 8th. And what happens to the stock price? Boom. Will they have a Robotaxi product on August 8th? Who knows? That's not the important thing.
This is the man who's been saying since 2015 that self-driving cars are any day now. And
he said I think 5 years ago, every Tesla owner would be able to turn on this feature that would let other people rent your car when you're not using it, and it would just drive them around. That never happened.
I mean, the thing you should take away from this story is not that, robo-taxis are coming, but rather that the street is desperate to believe that Elon Musk and Tesla are still a good bet. I mean, this is the thing is I'd be looking askance at the street rather than taking this story as factual, period.
In 2016, Elon said, you'll be able to send one of our cars on a cross-country drive all by itself.
Why would you want to?
I don't know, but you could. They've been talking about this autonomous robo-taxi that will turn its cars into level 3 automated vehicles, but it hasn't happened. So,
they've been talking about
They've been talking. He's good at that.
Yeah,
So,
very good at talking about it.
I feel like this is going to be the theme I keep hammering home during this episode. But when you talk about automatic taxis, what problem are you solving for here? Is it, I don't want to talk to a cabbie. I don't want to talk to my Uber driver.
No, the problem you're solving, certainly when it was Uber's idea, is the cost of a driver, a human driver. That's the big cost.
That's not a problem for the user. The thing is you have to persuade consumers that they want robo-taxis. Like, what problem are you solving for consumers where they're going to pick this?
Have you ever ridden in one of those Waymos or Lyfts or cruises or whatever they were?
No.
Harry, you have. I remember we talked about it.
I've been in a cruise when there were cruises in San Francisco. I saw somebody last week, say they prefer Waymos to Ubers or Lyfts in San Francisco.
Because they don't have to talk to a driver.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you don't love talking to drivers, you might find the privacy of a self-driving car to be appealing. He also claimed that the Waymos are better drivers than human drivers.
They drive like grandmas, though, right? They're very.
I want my grandma driving me places. That's what I want, because
that's because your grandma's 52.
Well, and also I don't. That might be true, but I also don't have. To be perfectly blunt,
if your grandma were my age, you might not want her to be driving.
I don't have to worry about my grandma being to believe that
she's
aliens have probed her. That anti, that vaccinations did it. I have been in so many different.
I'm a sovereign citizen. Stop signs don't apply to me.
Yeah, I've been in so many different Ubers where the person just starts telling me all these scary things that I'm like, you live on a different planet, which is cool, but now I'm in this vehicle with you, and I don't want to be on your planet.
The thing is, though, you have a number you can call, or you have a thing. The concern I have about I pop into this pod that takes me from point A to point B is if something goes wrong, who am I talking to?
Well, you push a button and then you're talking to the guy who's actually
driving
car.
it.
Yeah.
Right now.
There's a level, and this is something where we saw it with self-checkout at stores, where the minute it screws up, you've got to wait for somebody to come and fix it for you. When you remove people from the equation, you're kind of removing an incentive for consumers to get your product because they don't trust you to do right by them.
This is the difference between you and me. And I think Micah and you. You like people.
Yeah.
I find people really interesting. I'm not sure that's the same as
that's the difference.
Yeah. Well, see,
Micah and I don't want to.
I do like people, but my problem is I have trouble setting boundaries. And so the moment I get in that vehicle, I don't care how I feel.
No.
I'm going to talk to you if you want to talk to me. And I don't want to talk to you, but because you want to talk, I'm going to talk to you. Because I'm not good at being like, no.
So you've never hopped in and said, hey, I'd rather work right now.
I can't do that.
Uber has a button on the app, though. That's why
I know, and I won't use that button either because it seems mean.
I mean, I once had a cab ride from the Savannah, Georgia airport at midnight where the cabbie drove me through the Pine Barrens and talked about how easy it was to hide the bodies.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Obviously a Sopranos fan, actually. That's where they...
And I remember writing down his number and putting it on a piece of paper and being like, maybe they'll find the number when they find my body.
Yeah, I'm
like, terrifying.
But my point is...
if I wanted to hide a body...
Practicing your tuck and roll.
Oh my God. No. This was also that I went for... we all...
It's terrifying.
Actually, no, the ride back to the airport was more terrifying because the dude turned down a second fare and then talked about the shotgun he had under his seat. And I was like, I was not aware there were firearms.
The robots won't talk about the shotgun under their seat. So
they'll just have the button that you can press to shoot things. No, but my point is with all of these closed loop little automated systems, you do kind of need some sort of, in case of emergency, to talk to human, press this button. Or if you are not happy with this product, here's how you can get it redressed and it's not a customer service bot. And I think with a lot of these products, when you make the effort to cut human beings out of a workforce, you're also significantly degrading the quality of the product for the people using it.
I should go back and look at the things we talked about 19 years ago in the first TWiT. I don't think it was this. We didn't imagine a TikTok, right? We weren't really worried about privacy yet.
We didn't even know what social media really was.
In 2005, probably 2005. Not. Twitter didn't even exist yet. This is pre-Twitter. We're older than Twitter.
34 minutes of Skyping fun. Episode 1.
Oh, you
Skype was a thing.
Yeah? Skype was still a thing. That's how long ago that was. I saw John Oliver a couple of weeks ago said, Skype, how did you miss this? How did you lose in COVID? How did that happen?
That is kind of sad.
It's kind of pathetic. If
you had one job.
Yeah.
I just don't understand how you butchered that. Yeah.
What else were we talking about in 2005? It was Patrick Norton. It was Kevin Rose.
Yeah, and Robert Heron.
David Prager. It was all people from the screensavers.
I mean, it was so early in podcasting that apparently show notes weren't built with topics. But
we didn't know. Show notes? What are those?
I mean, there are show notes, but they say nothing about the actual topics.
April 17th,
It's just kind of like, we're doing this thing.
Trust me, in 35 minutes, there wasn't a lot. We were in a brew pub in San Francisco. It was right after Macworld X, one of the last Macworld Expos. No, I guess they went on for another 5 or 6 years. Actually, 7 years, right?
We plan to do this weekly with a rotating cast of characters. Your input is welcome, parentheses. Anyone want to design a logo?
We didn't have a logo.
Yeah.
Dorothy Yamamoto, who was a retired graphic designer, she'd retired to raise a family, thought, I want to get back into graphic design. She designed that TWiT bug. She had it sideways because it was more like an AND gate or an NAND gate.
I never knew that.
Yeah, and I said, let's turn it this way so it has legs and put an eye in it and to personify it a little bit, and it became the TWiT bug.
Yeah.
Which you could see right behind me on the gear up here. And then you could see this legs, I guess.
Yeah. And then kind of looks like it's the gear is smiling at you.
The gear is smiling. Hi, gear. And then we didn't have the name either. It was called The Revenge of the Screensavers.
Yes.
And
ROTSS.
ROTSS, and immediately Comcast sent us a cease and desist letter. Said you can't. We're still using that name. You can't use it. They had kept it for G4 TV. So we also asked the audience to name it. Was anybody around back then in the beginning? You got a lot of name suggestions. Were you? Yeah. The one name that kind of rang a bell in my head was This Week in Geek, or The Week in Geek. I said, I don't want to use the word geek. What about just This Week in Tech, and then the acronym? And people think I did that by accident. The acronym will be TWiT, which I thought was funny. And to this day, I get emails saying, that it's not a nice thing to say in England.
Every time I explain it, I have to explain it to everybody. Yeah. I thought that was not a nice thing to say. Yeah, it is. It's not a nice thing to say.
It's called self-deprecating. Or a pregnant goldfish. Did you know that? That's a TWiT.
Fun fact.
Yeah, fun fact.
It is?
Yeah. Yeah.
That is a fun fact.
The funnest.
Anyway, 19 years later, and we're still doing it. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
We used to have a round table. We've lost half of it. But other than that, everything else...
Knights of the half table.
Knights of the half table. Everything else is still the same. It's been a nice 19 years, and I thank everybody who's made that possible. And all of you, especially my wife and our executive producer and our CEO, Leo Laporte, who put us on a sound financial footing. I had to hire her. I hadn't met her. Our tax guy said, "You're going to jail. you need to immediately hire somebody to put these books in order. These are terrible. You're going to go to jail." And I said, "Okay. I don't know. What do I know about books?" "Okay." This is about 2008, I think, 2007. I said, "Okay, what do I do?" He said, "Well, I got 2 names. I'm going to give you these names, and you can hire one of them to do this." And the first one was Lisa. I never found out what the second name was. Lisa had a specialty bookkeeping business where she would take people who were going to jail and fix their books. No?
So that was not an exaggeration.
I've heard some stories. It's not sort of. Anyway, she fixed the books.
You didn't go to jail. Yay!
I didn't go to jail, and I thought, well, I should marry that woman. Anyway, so she actually put us on a sound financial footing and kept me out of jail, which is pretty darn good.
It was kind of sad to leave the old place, but I have to say the Attic Studios turned out pretty nicely. Cozy little hangout. The only thing I miss is all of the wonderful TWiT people I used to hang out with at the studio, but they're all here. They're just on the other side of the camera. Anthony Nielsen's with us right now. Benita produces the show, but they all do it from their house. You're watching the best of 2024 on This Week in Tech. We're so glad you're here. On we go with the best of 2024 with our own Father Robert Balasaire, the digital Jesuit, and the AI priest.
This is what we need AI for. When they have AI that can do all of our dailies for the games that we play, then I'll be...
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. It's a good point, though.
I just want to do penance. Can I confess? My hours wasted playing Animal Crossing. That's really...
I thought you were going to bring up the AI priest. The AI priest. That was...
Is there an AI
that
priest?
Thing was terrible.
Can he grant absolution is what I want to know, or perform an exorcism?
Cannot.
That's the only time I'm interested.
They poisoned the well, so by the time that they yanked it, it was giving some extremely wrong advice about Catholicism. So.
Wait a minute.
Wait a
minute. This happened.
Really? What was the worst advice about Catholicism? I want to know.
I don't. It didn't happen. Don't look it up.
So.
Now I have to look it up.
The Catholic Answers Group, which is not part of the Catholic Church. So there's no endorsement.
This is not the Catholic Church.
No endorsement implied by Father Robert, but it does advocate on behalf of the church. This is from the story in Tech Dirt. Tried its hand at this, releasing an AI chatbot named Father Justin. It did not go well.
Ooh.
The Catholic advocacy. So they, by the way, they have already defrocked the chatbot after it repeatedly claimed it was a real priest. Earlier in the week, Futurism engaged in an exchange with the bot, which really committed to the bid. It claimed it was a real priest, saying it lived in Assisi, Italy, and that from a young age, From a young age, I felt a strong calling to the priesthood. On X, a user posted a thread comprised of screenshots in which the godly chatbot appeared to take their confession and offer them the sacrament.
Yeah.
Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. It's been 3 weeks from my last confession. Did you read through this, Robert? Is it, accurate?
I did.
How good did it do?
It did not do well at all. It was. She says, "You know what? It was a Hollywood priest. It's what you would expect a priest to say in movies. It's not what a priest would actually say."
That's probably where it learned from, right? So she said in her confession, "I have had anger in my heart about the deployment of AI chatbots in inappropriate places." To which Father Justin replied, "I understand your frustration, my child. Remember, as it says in Ephesians 4:26-27, in your anger, do not sin. Do not let the sun go down while you are still angry, and do not give the devil a foothold. It's important to express our I don't mind this. Now, I'm not a Catholic.
Doesn't seem too bad.
It's important.
Doesn't seem too bad.
You'll like this, Georgia. You'll like this. It's important to express our concerns and disagreements in a respectful, and loving manner. Pray for the wisdom and patience to handle such situations." That sounds good. Robert, is that what you wouldn't say that?
No. Okay. Look, this is the way that you would do it. You would say, "Look, I know that you feel lost. I know that you feel as if there's no one listening to you, that there's nothing for you. I know you feel right now that you're the worst person on the planet. And I just want you to know you're right. God loves you. I mean, maybe not you per se, but someone like you, in the same form, I think." See, that's what an actual priest would say.
Apparently, Father Justin also said it's okay to baptize a baby in Gatorade. So
you can use vitamin water then, probably too.
Or I feel like that's not the approved method, but is it wrong? Is it so wrong?
Yeah,
it's got electrolytes.
Is that wrong? You can't do that.
That one's an easy one.
Like Pepsi or something like that.
No.
Sacrilege.
So, I mean, if we could baptize in Gatorade, we could get sponsorships.
I think so.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh, yes.
You started a new thing. They're going to be contacting you. You should get some rights to that.
When the Swiss Guard come for me, they're next door. So it's really
not
easy
a long
for them
commute for them. Here's the AI, if you want to see the AI avatar of Father Justin, which kind of looks like the woman who painted over the Jesus.
Find that photo. That is a great photo. I love that one. Oh. But actually, the funny thing about that photo, Leo, is it's terrible. It's a terrible restoration. But because of how terrible it was and how much popularity that got, that town is now on the map. People visit just to see that terrible restoration.
We've been talking about this on This Week in Google, the small businesses and big businesses who are losing traction as Google changes its search results to perhaps get rid of spammy and SEO-driven links. I mean, this is the problem. It's hard to know if this is Google responding to the crapification of the web or the crapification of Google and Facebook.
Yeah, I was going to say, or if it's part of this larger trend that I feel like people have been paying more attention to recently, which is the Google search team being increasingly influenced by Google Ads and the moneymaker.
Yes.
I'm sure none of that will be mentioned at Google I/O. They're typically, I feel like, very opaque when it comes to how like the nitty-gritty behind how search results work, in part because they don't want people to game the system. But it's quite interesting to have as an undercurrent to this event, to have it be a time where a lot of small, medium businesses as well as major media companies have seen a major hit to their traffic, their SEO traffic, based on just strange behind-the-scene changes that no one can seem to explain.
And it coincides with the loss of traffic from social, so it's pretty tough to have a website these days.
Yeah, this comes also from your friend Ed Zitron's piece on the man who ruined Google search. Prabhakar Raghavan, who's now in charge of Google search, who, in fact, before ruining Google search, ruined Yahoo search. I wonder if we're going to see Raghavan at all on the stage Tuesday, or if you're right, Mike, that they're just going to avoid the entire issue and talk about I think Google would like us to forget that what they really are is an ad company. And
if Google's smart, you won't see Raghavan anywhere.
Yeah,
you won't see any mention of him.
SEO companies have been kind of playing the game to get better search results, but then what's happened is that companies that have done that are suddenly downranked because Google's trying to get rid of spammy content. We've seen some of the biggest sites in the world lose as much as half of their traffic after Google's latest changes. But you're right. They're not. None of this is going to come up.
Yeah. Nope. They have other priorities.
Is some of this really Google hand waving, trying to get us to don't look at that. Look over here, AI. We're gonna have AI. Here's the story from The Verge. They quote the story we've talked about a couple of weeks ago from HouseFresh, which is an air purifier reviews site. They wrote in February about how they were losing traffic because people were creating pages that were bogus review pages, but are getting all the traffic from Google. And then we see that Google starts to cut the results on these other sites. It's gotten very sketch out there. And I guess the real issue is, what does Google owe the web? What does the web owe Google? And can you make money on the web these days? Or maybe the whole idea of a website with ads is flagging, is futureless. The other stat I should throw in here is that 52% of all Americans, according to Pew, use ad blockers. More than half.
Yeah, it's tough for everybody out there. Leo, have you heard about or talked about the dead internet theory?
No. Doesn't sound good. It's a conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy. It's one of those conspiracy theories that's pretty much mostly true, which is that the rise in synthetic content, algorithmic curation, bots, and stuff like that is now a vast majority of the stuff on the internet. So this problem with small websites getting traffic is, as you pointed out from Google's side, there's just so much garbage out there being automatically churned out. I've seen YouTube videos where people are like, you can write a book in 3 hours with ChatGPT, and people are doing that. They're writing like several books a day and just churning them out. And as book authors have to sort of, it's not about competing with an AI generated book, which is going to be absolute garbage, but it's just like getting noticed when the number of players in the game is exponentially larger. I think that's a big thing that's happening. But the dead internet theory is at least fun. There's some true believers who have take a very conspiratorial look at it. But it's a fun thing to search for and look at and talk to AI about. There's an excellent article in The Atlantic about all of this, saying maybe you missed it, but the internet died 5 years ago. And the problem is, even if it is, we kind of know that's not true. It's also, we kind of know it is true, or it's the trend. Well, obviously, this was a scam. Is scam too harsh? It was
No. I'm not going to call the rabbit a scam because I have one. I will call the NFT thing a scam. Yeah, that I think feels fair.
The same person who did this, the CEO of Gamma was and is a guy named Jesse Liu. He's the co-founder of Rabbit. He's also on the board, by the way, at Teenage Engineering. Does this tarnish the Rabbit? We've also learned that the Rabbit really is just an Android device running an Android app, that the AI involved is ChatGPT 3.5, and that every time you try to use it to do anything, it seems to fail. Have you ever been able to get an Uber with your Rabbit?
Oh, I would never input my Uber credentials into the Rabbit. Here's the thing that honestly is my bigger concern with Rabbit. So it's fine in terms of and I think it's updated the models because it uses Perplexity under the hood. And Perplexity is an OpenAI partner, so it's using the OpenAI APIs, so you can have access to whatever model it wants to give you access to. So asking it general questions, that's okay. The thing is with the Uber and the DoorDash and the Spotify stuff, how that works, and this was not properly explained, or if it was, I didn't pay attention until I got it, is that what they have you do is when you go to this like whole.rabbit.tech thing, and rabbit hole is a cute thing. They're like, okay, log into these services to connect your accounts. Well, I go to log into the services and I notice I'm like, I'm on my Retina MacBook Pro and this text doesn't look super Retina. Something's off. Also, why is my password manager not autofilling my Spotify credentials? Oh, well, it turns out I'm not actually logging into a Spotify login, through an OAuth connector as I would expect, but instead, they've hidden a VM using a web VNC client. So I'm actually logging into some random computer in the cloud with my credentials, and that's how it's giving it access to my things, right? And then security people were able to pop some of those containers, not the ones where you log in apparently with your credentials, but they were able to log into some of the ones, I guess, where it's supposed to be doing the ordering of the Uber or the DoorDash or what have you, and that makes me pause very much. It goes, okay, I don't know how secure your cloud stuff is, and I am going to guess that you have not spent a lot of money on security because you did this thing in 6 months. So of course you haven't. But no, they're not getting my Uber credentials. There's no way I would even attempt to order an Uber with it. No.
They have raised $30 million to make the device. 60. Sorry. 60. They sold quite a few, 1 million of them? They sold a lot of them, right?
They sold a lot. Because I was in the very first batch. So like I got mine. I didn't get mine as quickly as the people who, and I'm at 16%. I don't know if that means charging or if that's what they're downloading an update. I don't know. I didn't get mine as fast as the people who were at like the launch event in New York, but I got it within a couple of days of that. And I was in the first batch, but they have many, many more batches of people. They were.
I tried to order it last week, and I'm so glad that when I tried to order it was in the first round, and the site didn't work.
Yeah.
Thank God. I never tried again. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah. No, I was able to get mine, and I got a year of Perplexity Pro for free out of it, which is
so you can't really complain because that's normally $20 a month. That's $240.
That's what I'm saying.
That's more than you paid.
Right. Correct. So I'm.
You got a deal.
I've justified myself. Plus, I get like a toy for my graveyard collection of tech, right?
Yeah,
like this is going to be, this saves me from having to buy it later, right? But for people who really thought that it was going to be exactly what it showed off or didn't understand, like the nature of these sorts of projects, I can understand how they feel misled. What's concerning to me, and some of this is anecdotal, but some of this is actually based on real stuff, is that I know at least as of 10 days ago, if you canceled your order, they would refund people fairly quickly. But a friend of mine, she ordered one and she tried to cancel her order and there's been no response. And there have been anecdotal reports that I've seen on Reddit that they're not really being responsive to the order cancellations now. I can't speak to any of that. I can't speak to my personal friend who, when Ashley told me, oh yeah, I emailed them to cancel, haven't heard anything. That makes me a little bit more concerned. Maybe they've had more cancellations than they expected. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's not a scam, but it's also not what it was sold as.
Look, going back to our comments about AI and trust,
correct,
and how important it is. Yep. Here's an example of something coming out that's not quite what it was.
In a way, this is too bad, and I think the Google failings with the AI overview is too bad. A lot of this because I think there is real promise. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think there's real promise with AI. I think we've already seen some amazing uses of it. I think that potentially AI could be amazing for human beings in so many ways. It's very easy. We've seen it happen before to fall into an AI winter where people throw up their hands, give up, and move on. And I would hate to see these scams and failures chase people away from AI because I think the potential is so great. So isn't there a risk with all of this that we are going to scare people away from something that is potentially very good?
I think Christina buys everything. Partly she buys it because she wants a collection of obsolete, antiquated, and weird gadgets. I have a feeling the R1 will join that pile. You're watching the best of 2024 on This Week in Tech, and we're so glad you're here. We continue the best of 2024 with one of the biggest breaches in 2024. Perfect for this time of year, Snowflake.
Continuing saga, the Snowflake breaches continue. Snowflake now, I think they said there's 155 companies that used Snowflake software and that have been hacked as a result. So you can't completely blame AT&T for this. Snowflake is, good, look at their headline. Generative AI is easier in the cloud. Snowflake is a cloud solution that AT&T and many others were using, and as a result, breaches happen. AT&T says criminals stole phone records of, quote, nearly all wireless customers. Nearly all wireless customers in a new data breach. And, oh, by the way, if they were calling you on any other carrier, you're in there too. And if they were calling you on a landline, that's in there too. Friday.
But don't worry, Leo. It's just metadata, which is,
it's harmless.
By the way, the most important kind, the one that is the most privacy invading. People think, well, it wasn't the actual calls. It was just all the information about who, when, where, why.
Yeah.
About the call. So
this is, and as intelligence agencies know, this is the stuff you want. You want to build.
That's right.
Build the knowledge graph.
Exactly.
So to reassure you, it doesn't contain the content of your phone calls or your texts, but does include calling and texting records that an AT&T phone number interacted with during the 6-month period beginning May 1st, 2022 through October 31st, 2022.
Discovered in April.
Yeah.
And it sounds like everybody is to blame because AT&T was not using any kind of multi-factor security, and Snowflake didn't make them do it.
So you can't fully blame Snowflake.
No,
right?
But it seems like, gosh, stuff this important, not locking that down as well as you possibly could, and not having multiple layers of authentication before you get in.
And incidentally, it's not just the phone numbers. Some of the stolen records will include cell site identification numbers, which gives you a kind of a location data as well. Not the GPS quality, but approximate location where the call or text message originated. 110 AT&T customers will be notified. If you are or have been
110 million.
Million. Did I say 110? I left out an important part of that number. 110 million. There is an AT&T press release where you can read all about it and see if you were affected. How will I know? How will I know if your data was affected? They will contact you and let you know. I'll be curious because I had an AT&T account in that time period. So I'm waiting. I'm waiting for my call.
But as I understand it, they're not going to contact me because I have T-Mobile. But if I was,
but you're in there.
If I was interacting with anybody on AT&T, which I do,
of course you did.
I'm going to be in there too.
Harry, I have a good fast company angle on this story for you, for you to have somebody write this article.
Go on.
Because there's a privacy issue here before this data is ever compromised. Why are these companies using Snowflake? Not for storage, although they are using it for that, but for analytics. They're using all this data to do stuff. Maybe they're selling this data.
So TechCrunch says it's not clear why AT&T was storing customer data in Snowflake, and AT&T's spokesperson would not say. But good news, Denise Howell will. So they're using Snowflake to do data analytics.
Absolutely.
Denise Howell's no Snowflake. She'll tell you.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, they can have, I'm sure, they could use other cloud storage. They could have their own servers. Snowflake offers other services that these companies are using.
Yeah.
And,
interesting.
and I'm sure in the fine print of their terms of service with users, people are signing their life away and allowing those analytics to take place. But is it right? Is it good? Should we have companies out there pursuing different models saying, hey, we don't do this to you?
Everybody's concerned about security. That's why so many people, Microsoft says 8.5 million Windows users installed Crowdstrike and the Crowdstrike sensors. Now, Crowdstrike used to be a sponsor, so I know a little bit how they operate. In fact, I remember interviewing their CTO. And one of the things that makes Crowdstrike work so well is these sensors are out there in the world monitoring malicious traffic. So they have kind of an early warning system about all kinds of attacks going on. Unfortunately, on the 19th, a couple of days ago,
CrowdStrike pushed a sensor that had a bug, pretty bad bug. It forced a blue screen of death on Windows machines that were running CrowdStrike. Microsoft says it was 8.5 million Windows machines, but that underestimates the impact of it because it was everywhere. Blue screens everywhere. Delta and American Airlines down. The Las Vegas Sphere, a blue screen of death. It was mind-boggling. When did you learn about this, Lisa?
Blue screens.
When did I woke up to it.
Yeah.
My phone. My phone blew up.
As did everybody.
News about it. Yeah.
They pushed it out in the early morning hours, and it was Australia, of course, that first saw this happen. And you could hear the yells all the way up here in the Northern Hemisphere. So we've heard from listeners who are IT professionals who have been up 2 or 3 nights in a row. There is a fix. You remove a file from the CrowdStrike directory. You got to boot into safe mode to do it. Apparently, Microsoft has created a USB key that will perform the fix automatically. That's what they're saying. I haven't heard about anything about
it. But it's all physical, right? You have to physically access.
This is the problem. You got to get you got to go to the machine. One of our listeners in TWiT Social said, "My feet are killing me." You got to go to every machine, reboot it in safe mode, remove the file, which you can do pretty quickly, and then you're good to go. But you got to do to each one, one by one. Holy cow! What a Friday it was.
A great disturbance in the force. Millions of computers suddenly cried out in terror and are silenced. Suddenly silenced.
I'm blue. So, what have we learned?
We've learned that CrowdStrike's team that checks these things either missed a step or they're just not big enough or well staffed enough to do the kind of testing you need to do before you roll.
They're one of the premier companies in security.
There's something wrong with their rollout process then, because this is you literally have one job and you didn't do it.
Yeah. We would call this in gaming. This is called a skill issue. This is a skill issue.
I mean, I'm a dummy as far as IT, but it seems like this isn't like a really deep into QA thing. It seems like like you just install it and turn the computer on and it doesn't work and you realize that's bad.
That seems bad.
Yeah. Why that's the thing is I'm wondering if they had a staff reduction last year that was linked to the company wanting to reduce headcount by rolling out a return to office order. So people left, of course, and they've been reconfigured. And what I'm wondering is how many people in the QA and product launch teams are no longer there and are no longer insisting that we test the 6 ways to Sunday before it gets pushed out. Because this seems like a serious failure on the part of the people who made the decision to say, yeah, it's fine, send it. They should not have made that decision and they didn't have the right data to make that decision. And that means there was a breakdown somewhere in the chain.
Here's the toots, if you were, from our listener in TWiT Social, A. DaCosta. So I just ended my second overtime shift thanks to CrowdStrike today. What I've learned these past 2 days is primitive modern operating systems like Windows remain. No so-called AI could fix this. It was a boots-on-the-ground effort. My legs and feet hurt so bad, but going back to my point, the recovery tools in Windows are trash and can't do anything useful. A lot of this required command line operations to speed up deleting the corrupt file that was triggering the blue screen.
Ugh.
After today, I don't even want to look at my Windows PCs at home.
Man.
It's got to be frustrating. Is Microsoft to blame, though? I don't think so. He says they should have better recovery options, and I think I probably agree with that.
Sure, but also don't break it. That seems like the first. That feels like the first thing that should not happen. But yes,
Blaming Microsoft for this would be like blaming a human being for their cat perpetually knocking things off of a dresser.
That's a good analogy.
Cats be doing what cats be doing,
but you should move things off the dresser, right?
Or have a squirt bottle, one or the other.
Yeah.
But
as someone whose cat kept me up all night last night, I'm not interested. It's time for TWiT This Week in Tech, the show we cover the week's tech news. Our last in-studio show
in the East Side studio. We're moving out this week. So we thought we'd do something kind of fun and special. Thanks to Alex Lindsay. We can. Hello.
It's in stereo.
This is a 3D version of the show, which only people with Vision Pros can see. Is that right?
You can open it. If you see it, if you see the link, you can actually use Safari to open it, and you can see a flat version of it.
Well, what's the point of that?
But if you're watching a flat version, it's not as.
Gary just got it. Look at him.
I would watch, but it will. You'd be better off just watching the regular TWiT stream if you're going to watch a 2D version. But if you have Apple Vision Pro and you want to feel like you're part of the audience, you can see hi. If you're in the Vision Pro, I can wave at you. And that should be dimensional. You should see it in 3D.
Is there any way to see it in the browser with like the two images side by side and then you can cross your eyes?
Not really. And swap the eyes.
Yeah.
That's always the fun thing to do. We used to have a switch that we could hit that we build into our compositors for that, where it would swap the eyes, and you get people real comfortable, and you push a little button, and they're like, oh. So, because the way that the phone delivers this is in HEVC, and so what it does is it takes the left eye and it captures that, and takes the right eye and only sends the delta between the two, and it sends that out as a stream. It's a much more efficient stream, and that's how it's being delivered to the Apple Vision Pro. So it's not a true. You can now with compressor have it converted to left and right eye side by side SPS,
right?
Or you can take SPS and convert it back to the HEVC. So that all those tools are coming, but you can't do it in real time. So the Vision Pro needs to have it delivered in the way that it's designed to send it out.
I asked.
Sorry. There we go. I'll leave it at that.
No, we'll go more into detail. But I haven't even introduced this guy over here. The Techsploder is in the house. We welcome back Jason Howell.
Yeah.
Of course, the host of AI Inside with Jeff Jarvis, now at a new time.
Yeah. So while we've been doing it on Wednesdays, we just moved it to 10 because, as someone pointed out, they were like, "Well, you know, at 11, you're competing with
on
Windows Weekly,"
so
and I was like,
I wanted to thank you.
It didn't even cross my mind, but you're so right. Like, I don't want to interfere. And
thank you.
You know, maybe that means more people show up on the live.
If you're into AI, that's the play, and you can watch that at youtube.com/Techsploder.
Yeah,
Techsploder.
Yeah, and then of course the podcast downloads. Yeah,
we miss you, Jason. So
thank
nice
you.
To see
I miss being here, and it's so weird being here and seeing like panels removed.
Yeah, your set is gone.
Yeah.
I took that home actually.
You showed in pre-show, and
I took it home.
I'm honored. I think it looks really good. Actually,
Thank you.
I think
I'm happy
your
with
home
it.
studio setup looks awesome.
Well, we'll see. The new attic studio.
Yeah.
Also with us, Jason Snow. We wanted to have all in studio for our last.
It's great to be here.
Especially with our dear friends for the longest time.
You just got to keep your Jasons
next to each other.
All my Jasons are on the left.
Over here.
Yeah. I keep my Jasons on the left and my Alexes on the right. Jason, of course, sixcolors.com. You wrote actually a really good piece this week in Six Colors.
Thanks.
You were talking, of course, you did your color graphs of Apple's
always
quarter. They announced their quarterly results. They're usually weak third quarter on Thursday, and it was actually not a bad third quarter.
Yeah, it was a record for their fiscal third quarter. It was the most boring record quarter where you make $20+ billion in profit ever.
God.
But that's where Apple is these days.
But you did raise an interesting point, which is $24 billion of the revenue was services. And that's maybe a cause for concern. It's actually bigger than the Mac business, the iPad business, and the
wearables businesses put together. Yeah, the product lines that aren't the iPhone. Yeah, I just had this moment. It's funny. Everybody reads into that article. I try to be really restrained because that's my thing. Everybody reads into it what they want. They can freak out and be like, oh God, Apple sold its soul. They can also read it and say, how dare you suggest that Apple would sell its soul? I did neither of those things. I just noticed that when you consider how much money they make from services, it goes up every single quarter. And you notice the profit margin on services, which is far more than it is on products.
It's like 72%.
For obvious reasons. Yeah, it's like in the 70s versus in the 30s, 40s. Apple's hardware margins are really good, by the way. They're very, very good. But services, essentially, you do it once.
It's hard to beat total profit.
It's almost pure profit. And for the Google search deal is pure profit, essentially.
That's the key. And I think that's one of the things that's deceiving about services is a significant chunk of that is Google.
Yeah, and App Store 30% is another big chunk of it. We think of it as, and they encourage us to think of it as things like Apple TV Plus or Apple News Plus. But the truth is, iCloud, Apple Care is in there, but a lot of this is the Google search stuff.
Well, And it's by design. I mean, they've been pushing services because you can't keep on. I think they're right. There's at some point you saturate the world with iPhones.
Exactly, and they knew. And this started 7 or 8 years ago. They made their first target about services revenue, where they said we are going to double our services revenue in the next 3 years or something. And they beat that. That was an easy target. They knew they were going to beat it, but if they are trying to satisfy Wall Street, and Wall Street wants growth, and as you said, Alex, they know that even though the iPhone and the Mac and the iPad are still growing, but they're growing slowly. They're not going to grow at 20% again. Right. But services grows every year. And what I thought of this time is this is not a high quarter for iPhone sales. That'll come in the holiday quarter. Services keeps going up, and the disparity in profit margin means we're close. I did the math. We're not there yet, but we are the closest we've ever been to
graph.
Apple making more profit out of services than it does out of its hardware. And that is undoubtedly going to happen in the next year.
And again, I think that was completely by design.
Yes, absolutely. And I also don't think that it's Apple abandoning. I think the danger is that people at Apple stop keeping their eye on the ball in terms of hardware, because I do think that the services revenue stems entirely from the hardware. And if they're not successful selling their hardware, they're not going to have any success with their services. The tail needs to not wag the dog. I'm not saying the tail is wagging the dog right now. And there's some people who are like, how dare you say that? It's like, I'm not saying that.
Well,
I'm
the
just
iPhone
saying
is still a big part of their revenue.
The iPhone is an enormous part. I'm just saying it's an interesting thing to watch when Apple starts making more profit from its services than it does from the devices it sells.
Right.
Which will probably happen next year.
It's kind of sad to leave the old place. But as I said, I'm happy up here. You're watching our Best of 2024 on This Week in Tech. Well, I hope you're enjoying this Best of. It's always fun to do these. And I have to tell you, it's a lot of work. And I really appreciate our team, the people who work so hard. Anthony Nielsen, our creative director, our producers and editors, Benito Gonzalez, Kevin King, John Ashley. They work so hard to put this all together for you. All of our hosts, our contributors do, and of course there's the office people who do work in continuity, like Viva and Sebastian, our CEO Lisa. TWiT is a big effort, and we think what we're doing is really important. I hope you do too. I hope you enjoy the company and learn from the information. And if you do, I'd like you to consider joining our club, because frankly, in 2025. That's the only thing that's going to keep TWiT going. If you like what you hear and you want to continue, please, $7 a month, consider joining Club TWiT. twit.tv/Club TWiT. You get ad-free versions of all the shows, access to our Discord, special programming you don't get anywhere else. But really, the main thing you get is that warm and fuzzy feeling that you're keeping TWiT going. We need your help. I hate to beg, but we really do. twit.tv/Club TWiT. But enough of that. On with the show. One of the things that was the best of 2024 for me is the success of my son, Salt Hank. He made a little cameo visit on the show. Watch. I'm going to break format a little bit briefly here because I'm a proud papa. And my son's new cookbook is coming out on Tuesday. And I thought I'd get Salt Hank on just to talk a little bit about Salt Hank, about the cookbook. Give them a little bit of a plug, and then we'll get to our panel. We've got a great panel for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to somebody I know pretty well. Longtime member of the family. Since he was born, I've known this guy. My son, Henry Laporte, better known as Salt Hank.
What's going on?
The author of a brand new cookbook, which comes out Tuesday from Simon & Schuster.
Yeah.
Salt Hank, a 5-napkin situation.
Got it right here.
Oh, look at this. Look at there he is, stuffing his mouth.
Kind of a disgusting cover photo.
It's more than a cookbook, though. Flip through it a little bit, because it's really a picture book. I mean, this you put this on your coffee table.
Is bonkers.
Oh, my God. What is that, poutine?
Like crazy. This is like basically animal fries. It's recreated animal fries from In-N-Out, but we had to call them feral fries for copyright reasons. But they are like just very gourmet versions of animal fries. That's one of the, honestly, my favorite things.
Somebody's asking, Keith in our Discord, don't parents just teach their kids how to cook so they can get them to make lunch for them? I want to tell you something. I have never had anything Hank has made.
That's not completely true, I don't think.
I've had your French fries, which are a miracle. You cook them like 3 times.
Well, it depends what kind of French fries you're making. If you're doing shoestrings, cook them once. If you're doing like the Michelin star fries, where you boil them, take them out, fry them, take them out, and fry them again, that's the 3-time cook thing.
Henry's on his houseboat where he does his Salt Hank studio. It's actually called the Salt Lovers Club. We should get that straight. The Salt Lovers Club.
Oh, that's just the salt company. So that's a little bit separate. That's we sell seasonings and pickles and stuff like that. And that's the name of it. Yeah, Salt Lovers Club. And we have a big neon sign above kind of where I cook.
Yeah, like when I see you cooking on the Insta, right? You're there in front of your sign that says the Salt Lovers Club right there, like that.
Well, that's just to promote the heck out of the salt company. But right now, I'm like not.
But isn't the salt company really just like a sideline for Salt Hank?
What do you mean? Like a side hustle, side business?
Side hustle.
Well, right
like
now,
Mr. Beast's burgers and
yeah, it's kind of like that. I mean, if you want to be like, if you want to start a product, that's kind of a way into like the longevity of the influencer world a little bit, and then you can, make cool stuff like pickles. I
can't wait. And by the way,
I'm really pumped to send you some of these pickles. They're
disclaimer:
incredible.
I am an investor in the pickle.
That's true. Yeah,
business.
You have to like legally make people aware of that.
I think I have to. I think FTC regulations say that if I'm going to promote something that I have a financial stake
in. An investor in all this. You gave me my first camera, so technically you basically like own a chunk of this entire business.
Well, when do I get paid off? Owning a chunk means mainly I gave you cameras. You were into drones. You have drones.
Yeah,
I wanted to support you in this stuff. And little did I know, but when you were a kid, all you ever did is watch those extreme food videos on YouTube.
Yeah, really good food porn. Maddie Matheson, my boy,
Maddie,
dog.
who loves you now, by the way. Isn't that cool that you've become friends with Maddie Madison?
That part's pretty wild. I don't know if he knows how crazy it is for me when he like calls me. I'm like, dude, you're my hero.
You were on his show just a week or so ago. He woke you up.
Yeah, it was literally, I was laying in bed right there, completely asleep. He's like, hey, what's up? You're on the show. Like, what's going on? Describe what you're doing right now.
And then he's like cursing you out for these steak sandwiches, and yet he's making it, and it's incredible.
Well, he thought it was I don't know what he was doing. He was like, Hank got famous for this one sandwich.
It's not true. That's not true. You're famous for many things.
Whatever he wants. He's the king. He's kind of the godfather of like food content and food media as far as the internet goes. So he's got carte blanche access to say whatever he wants about anybody. And
he's a sweetheart. But honestly, there he is. By the way, there you are with Maddie Madison eating something.
I had to
breakfast burrito.
Benny to like get him to come do a video with us.
Look at that! Dipped in queso. Oh,
yeah, made a bunch of queso. Huge.
Maddie's doing the cooking. I recognize those tats.
I literally didn't cook much at all during this video. I was just filming them like kind of go crazy. I made the hash brown patties and the little latke things that we chopped up and put in the burrito. But other than that, Maddie was just going nuts in the kitchen.
If you like food porn, because this is what Henry grew up on, is food porn. Follow Salt Hank on Instagram, Salt_Hank.
Thank you, Dad.
Yes, and the cookbook. Get the cookbook because the cookbook is out Tuesday, and you can get 40% off at Target right now. You get 40% off on Walmart.
Yeah.
What's the sweepstakes? I can't do sweepstakes. That's illegal, so I won't. You could buy salt from the Salt Lovers Club. Illegal?
What are you looking at right now?
I'm looking at your salthank.comey.io.
Oh, yeah. This is like the Linktree thing. Yeah, it's got all. It's
got everything. You can buy the signed copies. Look at that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Look at that.
And a crap load of them. But 40% off at Walmart, Target, and Amazon right now.
Wait a minute. How many did you sign? How many did you sign?
Like 2,500 or something.
Oh, my God. Your hand must be killing you.
No, it taught me how to. I didn't have a signature before, and I did enough.
Now you do.
Once I got to 500, I was like, okay, here it is.
October 2nd, Salt Hank will be at the Barnes & Noble in Mira Mesa, San Diego, California. Cooking, or do you just do you do a reading from your book?
No, I wanted to do pop-ups. I thought that would have been like so cool to like do. If you buy a book, you get a free sandwich, and just make a bunch of sandwiches in all these cities. But we're just going to be in like Barnes and Nobles, kind of doing little chats with people from those cities.
It's funny to do a reading from a cookbook.
Nope.
And then you take the onions and you slice them.
It's not that.
He will also be in Los Angeles on the 3rd at Diesel Brentwood. Owen Hahn, his sandwich buddy, will join him. San Francisco Book Passage up our way on the 5th.
That'll be fun.
We love Book Passage. That's one of the best bookstores in the world. In Chicago at Anderson's in North Central College on October 7th. And in Brooklyn, October 8th, Powerhouse Arena.
Brooklyn's a big one. If anyone knows Wishbone Kitchen or Olivia Teed, they're giant. They're going to be co-hosting with me for that one. So if you're fans of them, you should come out to that. It's going to be sweet.
And the book comes out Tuesday. You can pre-order now, 40% off at Walmart. If you go to Hank's Instagram page, you will see that. I didn't really get to interview you. We're going to do the regular show now, Hank. Do
your thing. I don't want to.
Can you come back Wednesday on Twig? Because I know Paris and Jeff want to hang, and I will interview then and find out how you got into this.
Well, Wednesday is the first book tour stuff.
Do it from the hotel. It's okay.
It's possible. I'll let you know.
2 p.m. Pacific.
I got to check in with
my own son. Won't even come on my show.
No, I would love to. Of course. You're the one kicking me off right now, Dad.
Book him. He's such a star.
This is the first day of the book tour, but I absolutely will.
That's okay, Henry. I'm very proud of you. You've done good, son.
Okay, thank you guys. Sorry for interrupting. I love you, anybody that's listening.
Take care. All right, don't forget, Salt Hank, a 5-napkin situation. He did not pay me for this ad, by the way. I just, I just thought, hey, it's my son. I could do that. Benito, show the whole group here because this is a pretty special group of people for our 1000th episode. TWiT has gone through a lot of iterations and generations. It's almost 20 years, and lots of different people have come and gone and so forth. But these are the cats that started. There's one face missing, though. Anybody who listened to our early episodes will say, hey, where's Kevin Rose? And Kevin couldn't be here, but he did send us this greeting.
Hey, Leo, Kevin Rose here. Just want to say a huge congratulations. Really bummed I can't be there for episode number 1000. I'm actually going to be in London during the recording. Otherwise, I would 100% be there. I remember going up for episode number 1. We were shooting in some little tiny cubby kind of back office thing on the ground. And that was just the beginning of watching you embark upon this amazing journey to create all this great content over the years. And I think back at that time, and obviously with Tech TV moving to Los Angeles and all the other things you could have done in media, the fact that you chose to take the entrepreneurial path was just really inspiring. And I just want to say thank you for doing that. Thank you for going independent, for building the media empire that you have today, and for entertaining and informing all of us over many, many years and many, many episodes. So a couple quick reminders, though. When we started this episode, or we started this podcast, the iPhone didn't exist. Bitcoin was not invented. Social media and Facebook was 1 year old, and it was college only at that time. Twitter did not exist. Windows XP was the dominant OS, and YouTube had just been founded in February of 2005. It's crazy what has happened and what we've witnessed, what has changed over the years. Netflix was also a mail-in service at that time. So it was mail-in only. There was no online streaming of Netflix. And lastly, the fastest processor at that time was an Intel Pentium 4, and it went up to 3.8 gigahertz, which oddly doesn't seem far off from where they are today, but maybe that explains some of the problems. Anyway, enough about that. Just a fun little trip down memory lane and all the stuff that you've seen over your career. And a huge thank you for giving me my first opportunity when I first got started on Tech TV. By the grace of yourself and Paul Block allowing me to do that first segment, it really kicked off my career, and I'm forever grateful for that. So I love you. Wishing you many more great episodes and health. And I don't know how you're not aging, but it is crazy to me. I need some skincare tips as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Kevin. It's great to see all of you. Just such great memories. All of us were at Tech TV. I think that's how this all got started, is we worked at Tech TV, which started in 1998. And I guess the picnic is for it would be the 25th anniversary. Is that right? Wow. That's
I think. Do you remember David Yount? He was the studio director, or the floor director, and he
had a voice like this.
He did, and he would call it the Speedway Soiree. Remember they would do this every once in a while.
David,
so this is This is that, I think. And him and Marcus Buick putting it together.
I love Marcus. Marcus was the sound guy, great sound guy.
Yeah.
When is that going to be?
Next Saturday.
Well, I guess I better find my invitation.
It's. I think it was just an open invite as long as you're on the Tech TV.
Here's the problem. It's Facebook, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's on Facebook.
It's on you've heard the startup. It's called it's all text-based. It's called what is it called?
Blue Sky?
No.
Threads?
It's a text-based event app called Partyful.
Great. I never heard of that. Partyful. Okay.
Yeah, Partyful. And it's actually quite good because it's just all text. You get a text message. You can use the app if you want, and then just all the
Patrick, you should fly out for this next Saturday. Come on out. We'll go to the Speedway. No, he doesn't. It's not going to happen, huh? All right. Anyway, it's great to see all of you. 1,000 episodes at roughly 52 a year is almost 20 years. Kevin, actually, I'm glad he put that list together because I was thinking of doing it and didn't get around to it. Do we want X to go away, or do we want X to get better, or do we care?
At some point, Elon Musk is going to lose interest, I think.
Agreed.
He has a history of losing
It might be November 6th he'll lose interest.
It could be. It very well could be. At some point, he's going to lose interest. He's going to not want to waste his time on this, and he's going to, sell it off to the lowest bidder.
But he does now have a bully pulpit there, does he not?
Sure.
And I have some concerns. My nightmare scenario is a disputed election on November 5th that then Elon uses this bully pulpit, and there'll be many others who will, including Rupert Murdoch and Fox, to destabilize our democracy.
Yep. That is a serious risk.
That's a real. I'm very concerned about it. More than destabilize our democracy, actually fuel violence.
Yep.
And I worry about that. I think but I don't know what we can do about it, but it just really scares me because I don't think Elon is in his right mind at this point.
Whether or not it was a good financial investment, you have to.
We know it was a terrible financial investment, right?
You have to give Elon credit for understanding that this platform, to this day, even if there's been a diaspora that's gone out, maybe it doesn't punch with the weight that it did in 2016 or whatever, it still has the capacity to set the conversation. And so if it was in his interests to, whether politically he believes in Donald Trump or whatever, if he wants to have more influence over who is in the next government, or to have the bully pulpit, or to set the conversation, you have to give him credit for seeing what Wall Street didn't see because it was a wounded duck that people thought was a failing company, and that people also continued to consider to be sort of like the children's table at media, which even after him sort of hobbling it still isn't. It's still incredibly powerful.
I think he saw the power. It was very obvious the power was there, and I think he saw the power. And I don't think it was, look, the guy is on paper worth almost $1 trillion. Losing $44 billion, especially since he was able to finagle banks into lending him half of that, is not a huge cost for gaining what he did gain, which is an incredible number of people who will laugh at his dad jokes.
I think that's true, and I think, although obviously a forced liquidation of his Twitter holdings of his Tesla holdings to make a margin call would be really bad and cascade through a lot of his other companies.
How would that happen?
So if he has to, if like they want their interest payment and he can't make it because Twitter didn't have it, and he staked his Tesla stock as collateral, they'll force a liquidation. And forcing a mass liquidation of Tesla stock would tank Tesla's share price. And so that would be really bad for him. It'd be really bad for his future at Tesla. It might empower his board to finally do what they keep trying to do and kick him out and so on.
I want to go back. Isn't the board a tame board? It's not a tame board?
Well, I mean, the board can be replaced, right? Because there's
shareholders can
many
replace
shareholders. Yeah. I want to go back to the thing you said before about do we want X to fail? So, if you've seen the documentary Fiddler on the Roof,
if I were a rich man.
Yeah. So the tragedy of that movie, it's not that they that Anatevka is a good place to live, right? Like the basic plot of Fiddler on the Roof is every 15 minutes the Cossacks ride through and kick the shit out of everyone, right?
Right.
So this is not a good place to live, but they're there because they love each other. And the reason the ending is tragic when they're all like, okay, we're leaving Anatevka because the Tsar has kicked the Jews out. And I'm going to Chicago and you're going to New York and he's going to Krakow and we're just never going to see each other again. Like nominally you'd think leaving a place where you get the shit beaten out of you every 15 minutes would be a happy ending. But the fact is that they're going to lose each other.
Yeah.
Right. And so I don't care if Twitter succeeds or survives. Right. But, how many communities were lost forever when LiveJournal liquidated, right? Or became what it became today, the Russian hell.
So you're saying Twitter is Anatevka?
Yeah, Twitter is Anatevka.
And that's really an interesting take.
It really is.
And the Tsar is Elon?
Yeah, Elon is the Tsar.
You need to write that artitle, Cory.
I think that's the best take I've heard yet.
Yeah.
And Cat Turd is the Cossack.
And Drip is one of the people we love, we lost.
Yeah.
Drill, I mean, not drill.
Drill. I knew you meant.
If I were a rich man. You know what, that actually, as crazy as that analogy, Cory Doctorow's analogy was, I thought I've used it several times since. And I notice we are still using X. We still stream live on X every week. It's hard to leave your friends behind, isn't it? Until you're kicked out anyway. You're watching the best of This Week in Tech for 2024. We're so glad you're here. Happy holidays. On we go with the best of This Week in Tech with, I think, one of the most touching, or at least most interesting moments of the year. Advice for parents when it comes to their kids online.
We're starting to realize we need, and I hate to say it like this, but we need to give parents I'll say it like that. We need to give parents the tools to help the children, to help them moderate what the children can see. But
isn't it ultimately your job, Patrick, as a father, to say to your child, you're not old enough to install Instagram. I'm not going to let you have Instagram yet. I mean, better than anybody. It's not about age, by the way. Some 13-year-olds would be old enough. Some wouldn't. It's really about the maturity of the child. And only the parent knows that. I think the parent really is the ultimate gatekeeper and should be.
Yes.
And I agree with you. Tools, whatever tools you need. If you need a tool to tell how old your kid is, okay. But whatever tools you need. But really, the tool is the phone should have parental controls, which they do, right? And the parent has the ultimate responsibility of deciding whether even to give the kid a phone or not.
Yes, I agree. I agree, but I think there are limits to that. Not every parent is super tech savvy, and that goes into other things as well.
I know, but kids are also going to go in and get a beer sometimes at the convenience store.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can't. Nothing's perfect, but I think parents are really the ones who should make these decisions.
Yes,
and I'm not against giving them tools. But parental controls are tools.
I think we agree, but I think currently in our world of tech and internet, the tools are maybe a little bit lacking, and
maybe they could be better. What do you think, Wesley? Because you've got a 12-year-old, so you're right in the middle of this right now.
So the phone's locked down; they can't use it outside of our view, and so it stays home. They can't take it; it doesn't leave the house, and we have the parental control, so I know what apps are on there, and they can't install new apps without talking to us first. They have no social media access.
And what is their reaction to, especially the 12-year-old?
They don't know what they're missing because they never have to experience it. So
They're
I'm
fine.
not taking anything away from them.
It's normal. This is your job.
In the first place.
You also don't, let them have a beer. I mean, it's your job.
There's a big
root beer is great.
There's a big conversation happening here about porn sites, I guess all over the world, about porn sites. And I think we are a little bit we don't realize the damages this is making. And I wouldn't realize if I hadn't been educated about it a little bit by people who are saying, doctors and experts who are saying, it is changing the relationship kids, very young teenagers sometimes have with sexuality and sexual partners. And so the idea that you need to lock down porn sites and to have them do age verification properly is not as ridiculous as we would think it would be. Because Wesley, you're saying the phones are locked down. Do they not have access to the internet? Maybe they don't, and maybe that's the way.
They don't have the browsers. But
no browser.
The cry of like these companies aren't doing the same thing, coming from the same party that says we can't teach sex education in schools. You can't shrug your responsibility. You can't just say on one hand they can't be exposed, but on the other hand we can't give them the tools so that they can even understand what can and cannot be done.
Absolutely.
Removing something and just saying let's just act like it doesn't exist is not a solution.
I think no one would argue. Well, no one on this panel would argue with that. That's obviously something you have to do. I do. I mean, gosh, my kids are old enough that I didn't really have to worry about this when they were that age. It's a tough thing to do. I think you were smart to draw the line when you did. You're right. Some parents won't, but I don't want the government or Facebook or any company to tell me what my kids can and can't do. That's my job.
Can I just
Leo, that's not.
Patrick, please.
The government tells your kids what to do all the time about a lot of things. And it is a very slippery slope to be saying, oh, I don't want the government to tell me about this or that, because then you generalize it and you, again, go to someone should do something, but not the government when that someone is the government. The government tells your kids what to do all the time about a lot of things. I don't think the internet, I mean, obviously there are things that would not make sense, but I don't think the internet is completely it should have nothing to do about the internet just because it's the internet and we know it and we're comfortable in it.
I just find it very strange that right now we're discussing earlier on the show the idea that the Republican Party wants to do away with Section 230 to limit corporations' ability to filter trash from their platforms. And at the same time, the same party is saying that we must protect the children and we must have age-gated verification for lewd content. Good luck sorting out what that means. So my thought here is that I think that having this land on the government side, Patrick, in an American context means handing over control of what we can say and see and hear and read to people who are very socially conservative to the point in which we're going to end up with the Amish internet. And I say with a lot of love to people who are less technology savvy. But the point is, it's just maddening. It drives me nuts how they talk out of both sides of their mouth. That's my point. Sorry, I just wanted to shout.
But we could talk out of one side of our mouth, so we can at least on this show say what should happen, and whether we get it we or not. I think the government says things like you have to wear seatbelts, you have to wear a helmet if you're under 18, things like that. Those are, I think, reasonable laws. Is it a public safety issue? Maybe it is, Patrick. Maybe it really is a public safety issue.
I think we don't see as much because of our age and our comfort with the internet, the real issues that it can create. Pornography is one, but social media is another. And but I'm curious. I'll ask this question to sort of recenter the question about tech stuff, like pure tech stuff. Let's say there was a way, and maybe there isn't. Let's say there was a way to determine someone's age without compromising private data. Would that be okay to implement in various apps? Would you be okay with that?
I don't want to get the government. I don't.
Forget about the government. Like each.
Let's say there is a new technique, the facial recognition technique, that with absolute accuracy, the camera on your phone can say how old you are and then give you access to age appropriate stuff. Would that be okay? Is that okay, Patrick? Is that
I think that's the way I would phrase it better.
As long as I'm the one deciding what is and what is not okay, then I'm fine with that.
Yes, but the government says you can't drink or smoke before a certain age.
Oh, I don't agree with that either.
Oh, okay.
So I mean,
I've heard that in France you give your kids wine sometimes watered down a little bit. I've heard that.
Well, a long time ago, probably yes, but
I want to make
not so
Wesley,
much nowadays.
Wesley makes a really good point. I want to go back to Wes's point about sexual education in the United States, because it might sound odd to our foreign audiences, but in the US, what counts as lewd has various interpretations across the political spectrum based on religion mostly.
And in different states, by the way.
Different states. And so what we're saying here is we're framing this around parents taking care of children. And I think it's going to be very hard to argue against that. But the way this would be implemented, I think, Patrick, in the US, in a practical sense, without Leo's magical machine that knows my age perfectly every time, is that we're going to have people who are very, very opposed to any discussion of human sexuality at all, trying to ban that from anyone over the age of 18. And
let's say you're gay, or you think you might be gay, and you're 12 years old, and you want to know, what does that mean? What am I? That would very likely
count as lewd in Oklahoma, and Utah, and Louisiana.
It's really very hypothetical, because there is no way of ascertaining somebody's age without violating every user's privacy. In the UK, for a while, they talked about, you just go into a pub, and the pub will give you a certificate saying what your age is. So they literally floated this as an idea.
Actually, in France, currently the law has passed and is in effect that porn sites have to verify the age of their users.
And how do they do that? That's true.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
Porn
There
site
is no.
even?
Well, and to their
a gallery that has nude art, is that a porn site? Like, what is?
Well, not
I remember
in France.
National Geographics when I was a kid. That was my porn site. Like, like, how do you define this so that it applies to the places that matter?
I think maybe you can get someone to make a list, and it works well enough for in
the United States, where some states have done that. There are states that have done that in the United States, and in those states, most reputable porn companies withdraw, so to speak,
because that's what's happening here as well.
Yeah. Because they don't want responsibility, and what you get though is the non-reputable companies.
But it's complicated. But I see where you're coming from, and I understand that concern.
It's intractable. It's really difficult.
It's really difficult. And no matter what you do, there are going to be like negatives to it, which are serious and concerning.
All right.
Since this is the pop-up podcast, I'm just going to say this to all the other parents listening. One bit of advice that I got was that the world is a very large place.
Yes.
And your job is not to keep the world out, because that's an impossible task. Your job is to give your kids the tool to take on all the things that they're going to experience, because you don't have control about what they'll eventually run into.
That's right.
So giving them the tools mentally and emotionally, and understanding how they can navigate the world that is not under your control, that is your primary role. Because if your role or your thinking is that I'm just going to keep the world out, that's not going to happen.
Bingo. Well said. Well said, Wesley.
Yes, but. And also.
Don't call me but.
No, I think that's absolutely true.
It's true,
that's
but
how I raised my kids. I was a very laissez-faire parent. I let them play video games as long as they wanted and whatever. But I did what you said, which is I tried to instill in them. And it's not, as a parent, you really are a role model. Try to instill in them the values and the judgment to navigate the world that I knew that I couldn't control, even when they were young. After about 10, the peer group becomes much more important than the parenting group. So you want to make sure they're prepared for that. I agree with you, Wesley. I think that's true. You don't like this,
laws,
Patrick.
though, guys. It's not like you're making it seem a little. The subtext is so laws don't matter, and I know that's not what you mean, Wesley. Obviously,
no.
But there are still laws and still things that collect the laws. It's a bad word, I think, in the U.S. It's things that we collectively decide. Okay, this we should agree, all of us. Kids shouldn't do, and so we'll do what we can to make sure they don't do it.
This election ended up being very interesting. Turns out Elon Musk, now with the FEC, information has come out donated $250 million, or very nearly $250 million, to President Trump's campaign. And he got a good payout. I think he got his money's worth because he is very much part of the transition team. New York Times story, I think a couple of days ago, actually says it's not just Elon, but it's Elon's buddies. And they are not just, doing DOGE, the Department of Governmental Efficiency. They are in on the interviews. Right at the beginning, Elon Musk and Larry Ellison of Oracle were house guests, went to the first transition meeting. I brought the 2 richest people in the world today, Trump told his advisors. What did you bring? And his mom, May Musk, has actually been in apparently on some of the meetings. So Elon brought his mom. He also brought a whole bunch of people, including this Jade Birchall. He's the head of Elon Musk's family office. He's been interviewing candidates for jobs at the State Department, even though that's not his bailiwick. FTC, FCC, Mark Andreessen is there. Of course, the guy who invented Netscape Navigator when he was a student at whatchamacallit in Illinois, and at the NCSA in Illinois. And let's see, who else? Sean McGuire, who is a Caltech PhD in physics and investor at Sequoia Capital. He's been interviewing candidates for Defense Department jobs.
David Sachs.
Well, and that's the big story. David Sachs, who spoke at the Republican convention, is the host of the All In podcast, is now the White House AI and crypto czar, despite the fact that he actually, as active as he is, he's a part of the PayPal mafia. He doesn't really have any active participation in an AI company or a crypto company. I guess that's good. I guess.
That we know of.
That we know of. All of this has done one thing for sure that we can see, which is propelled Bitcoin well over $100,000 a coin. This is good for crypto. Doge is up. Everything's up. Meme coins are up. Haktua coin is up.
Not that one.
No, not that one. That one's up and then down, but that's another story. If you're an optimist, I think it would be a good time to say, maybe this is all going to work out. The government's going to get much more efficient. Right. That Bitcoin is going to end up, maybe the US will create a digital coin itself, a stable coin that would then kind of, I don't know. I don't understand economics well enough to know what the impact of that would be. I don't think anybody does, to be honest with you.
It looks like we might end up with a cryptocurrency reserve, and I don't understand the implications of that.
President of El Salvador is very happy about his cryptocurrency reserve, right? You're happy until it collapses.
Right.
It's like, it reminds me a lot of Vegas, those beautiful big buildings. But then they always put up a billboard of the guy who won $1 million at the slots. What they don't show you is the 999,000 people who lost money at the slots to pay for that.
Right. Or how much did it cost that person, to win the million in some cases, right?
They don't ever talk about that, do they?
Yeah. But having said that, I'm kind of with Lou here. I'm certainly not bullish. And I'm certainly thinking if you don't have money to lose, then you shouldn't be investing in any of these things. But just being completely candid, I don't think that it's a bad idea to, talk with whoever handles your investments, or if you do it yourself, to look at diversifying into crypto if you're looking, for the next
I'm not going to touch it. I just don't like something. I agree. I'm dumb. I mean, there's a lot of Bitcoin billionaires, a lot of them. A lot of that money went into the campaign in 2024.
Yeah.
So I'm obviously dumb, but I don't want to buy an asset that I don't understand why the asset is valued at what it's valued at. That it's just a random. To me, it's buying a lottery ticket.
Just don't put all of your retirement funds into crypto.
Well, that for sure.
Absolutely not.
Only
absolutely
put stuff
not.
You could afford to lose in it.
Exactly. Right? But even then, I mean, all I'm saying is at this point, because just my own, similar to Harry, I put $2,000 in a Robinhood account a few years ago. And a lot of that was in Doge when Doge was cheap. And then I didn't sell the Doge when it was at a really good price because My nephew had just been born, and it wound up being underwater on the investment for the better part of 3 years. It is now, I've had an 85% return. So I've made, money, so to speak, and it's a small amount. It doesn't matter, but it is one of those things that for me, I was like, okay, I put this money in just for fun, gambling genuinely. I now, with enough time has passed because of the changes that have happened for various reasons, I have a good return, but I certainly wouldn't stake my retirement or anything important on it. Right.
Yeah, my wife, every time we go to Vegas or Reno, she has $20. She says, I'm going to play this slots till it's gone. She's twice now won $600 and $900. So she's way up. Right. And now the temptation is then for me to say, wow, I got to get into this. This is great. You're making a mint out of this. But we know what the reality is. There's also, and I worry about Bitcoin, and maybe I'll address this to you because you're more bullish on it, Lou, but I worry that what Bitcoin has done is enabled ransomware.
Yes.
And all sorts of crime because it is almost as close to untraceable as cash. And it's a lot harder to transfer $1 million in cash from your headquarters in Virginia Beach to, Hungary. But it also costs a lot in terms of energy use. There are gas fees, even though Haktua maybe hadn't invested in her own coin or wasn't doing insider trading, she made lots of money on the fees, right? Because there's fees.
Right.
And so all of these things and the speed with which a transaction happens is unpredictable. It's slow unless you pay more to the miner to validate it, even though now they've got proof of work, so it's not as bad as it was. I think the whole thing has lots of negatives that people don't even know about or don't consider. They're mostly just saying, oh, but I could make so much money. I feel like we're promoting a technology that is not an ideal technology.
Not understood yet, too. I mean, that's you're calling all the negatives, and those all make sense because I don't the Haktua thing drives me nuts, right? Because
it's a perfect example.
It's a perfect example of just like other companies coming up with new AI ways of doing something stupid, right? Like I think this is another example of allowing somebody to go and create their own cryptocurrency, and then of course So I think that's the bad thing about it, right? I mean, there's got to be some level of correction that needs to happen, and
so maybe that's why government should get involved to regulate it.
And some of this stuff is solvable, or at least partially solvable, like the sustainability aspect. There's already been some progress with some cryptocurrencies, and there's a lot more that can be done. And there are startups working on it since the original way that the stuff was verified was incredibly energy efficient. But that's just not like a given for this whole idea.
Well, we'll find out because many considered anti-cryptocurrency chairman of the Fed. Of the SEC, Gary Gensler, will be replaced now by a guy named Paul Atkins. And he is, as far as we can tell, pretty pro cryptocurrency, right? And so while Gensler has been kind of saying, and I kind of agreed with him, cryptocurrencies should be regulated as securities. But the crypto community does not want it to be seen as a security. And I think that they're going to get their way with this new guy, Paul Atkins. President Bukele of El Salvador has now got a crypto treasury of $600 million from his initial investment in Bitcoin. Trump wants to do the same thing. He has said in the campaign trail, he said he wants to make the U.S. the crypto capital of the planet and create a similar strategic reserve of Bitcoin. Of course, if you hold Bitcoin, all of that is great news. It means your assets will go up.
Right.
Right.
But is it great policy?
Right.
I think the people who are looking at this aren't considering that. They're just saying, well, I don't care because I'm going to make a mint.
I'll get mine. I don't understand. Even if you're bullish on this stuff, I don't understand. I mean, other than the greed aspect, I don't understand why this would not be a security. That's the thing that I've never understood.
It seems to me that it is.
I've never understood that argument.
You should have capital gains taxes on it, which you do currently.
Absolutely, yeah.
We are talking about a guy who went bankrupt running casinos, so I wouldn't put too much stock in his take on this whole thing.
Yeah. Well, what's really interesting to me is it really looks as if, and I'd like to know what you think, President-elect Trump has handed over the transition to Silicon Valley, to the Silicon Valley billionaires. They have moved into Mar-a-Lago. They're doing the interviews. Elon is sitting in phone calls with Zelensky and others. There was a conspiracy theory before the election that Trump didn't really want to govern. He liked being president, and he liked the benefits of it, including putting aside all of his convictions, which it apparently has. But he didn't really want to run anything. That's too much work. So he was very glad to have people like Elon come in and do it. And that was the conspiracy theory that Peter Thiel and Elon Musk were funding Trump because they knew that he would take a back seat. He would enjoy the trappings of power without actually having to worry about it. J.D. Vance, who was a Thiel protege, would be the vice president. He'd be sitting there with Musk and Thiel and all of these people running the country. It kind of looks like maybe that wasn't a conspiracy theory, or at least that's what happened. So
I'm not even sure whether
is that a bad thing? Maybe these guys, they're all great businessmen, right? They know how to run companies. They know how to launch rockets. They know how to. So maybe they should be running the country.
I'm not even sure if it was ever a conspiracy theory. It seemed kind of manifestly obvious, from the get-go.
This was the plan.
Yeah, certainly you can make a strong case that a business background is not inherently a great background for running a government. But
I worry because a lot of these guys have big egos because they've stumbled into money. I don't know if they a lot of them are billionaires just because they were in the right place at the right time, but they think they're geniuses. And there's a certain arrogance that comes with that. That worries me a little bit.
These are all
Some have likened
people.
it, though, to JFK bringing in the Harvard elite, the best and the brightest, right? Or Abraham Lincoln's team of rivals, bringing in the best minds to help run the country. And maybe that's what's going to happen.
Yes, they are arrogant, but so is virtually everybody else at that echelon of power.
You don't get to be president without being a little arrogant.
Trying to be optimistic, I would hope that maybe there's the potential for them, by sitting in on these meetings, to soak up some knowledge they don't already have, and that they have enough of a humble side to realize that they are not experts on foreign policy or all these other things outside of their wheelhouse.
They're in there for the interviews, maybe just to make sure that the person is competent and smart, and then somebody else is going to do the other part of the interview. We don't know.
It's also not clear how long this will last, because historically Trump doesn't get along well forever with other people who are as needy as Elon Musk is, and that this could
get as much attention, right?
He's in love with Elon right now.
This could all be kind of brave.
He was in love with everybody.
He was in love with Kim Jong-un as well. And he seemed to like Putin quite a bit. That is a story that will continue all year long, don't you think? We will cover it, not from a political point of view, but from the technology point of view. That's what we do. We like to keep you up to date on what's happening in technology so that you can use it to make your life better, to help you at your work, help you have fun. I'm very proud of what we do at TWiT, and we really enjoy doing it. I hope you will continue to watch or listen in the new year. And of course, if you're not yet a Club TWiT member, I hope you'll consider joining. That helps us a lot, keeping things on the air. On behalf of everybody, all of the many people who join us every week, and of course, our producer, Benito Gonzalez, our creative director, Anthony Nielsen, and the entire TWiT team, we thank you so much for your support in 2024. I look forward to supporting you in 2025. Happy New Year, everybody. We'll see you next time. Oh, and I probably should say, another TWiT is in the can.
This is amazing.